I'm grinding. I'm on a computer. And then in addition to that, I have kids. And then, and other opportunities to network and connect and build. And so anyhow, I'm like, how do you find the time to manage and juggle all these things? But what he said in this TED Talk was, if you look at when you're thinking about juggling a ball, 5 balls, and one of those balls represent each of those different areas I just spoke to: your family, your spirit, your relationships, your health, and things like that. And so anyway, you're looking at how you begin to juggle them. And he said, if you look at the flow of all of the balls that you're juggling, it tends to make a shape of the infinity sign, which means that they're never ending. They're a constant, right? But if you start to see the placement of those balls, you'll see that maybe at some point in the cycle, the relationship ball is at the top left. And then if you begin to see that, your job begins to be on the right, kind of towards the bottom. And then the spirituality may fall somewhere beneath the family. And then health is kind of right above the hobbies and all of these different things. Just begin to circle. And then next minute, as it circulates, next minute, family is down left bottom, and then health is at the top right. And everything just begins to shift at all the times. Nothing will always stay at the top. But they all commingle. They all seem to move around together. And instead of us segmenting them and keeping them apart, begin to see how they flow together infinitely. They just keep on moving around. And so he was saying that's what our life looks like: unbalanced, on purpose, full of transition, a constant moving piece. So instead of trying to separate your family from your work, or like me separating my family from my business, bring them in. So interestingly, I really believe what he was saying, because I began to do that even before I heard this TED Talk. I would bring my 6-year-old to my speaking events. I would incorporate some way to allow my daughter to be able to help me with my business. And she started to tell me she loves doing, Mom, I love your Belief LLC. Mom, I want to be just like you. Instead of her becoming so, instead of her beginning to dread what I do, she wanted to be a part of it. And I wanted to make sure that I invited her there. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to encourage people to do today. And whether you're grinding out there, working in corporate America, or you're producing and establishing an empire by building your own business, begin to recognize that balance is really like mythical. In order for you to be successful in life and progress, you just have to find ways to keep all of these components working simultaneously together. While one thing is in the air, your hands are touching these 2 things here at the bottom. And then when you begin to juggle those things, those 2 things that once were in your hands, they're now in the air, and now you're getting your grip on something else. And that's okay. You think about it as if you were on a unicycle, or even balancing a regular bicycle. In order for you to actually make progress, you're going to have to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to press through the discomfort and quit focusing just on balancing. Because balance says I can juggle and maneuver where I'm at, what I'm on right now in this space, and I'm not going anywhere. Because in order for you to actually really understand the technique and how to actually go ride on a bike ride with your friends, you're going to have to move your feet along with practicing juggling that balance. You're going to have to now focus ahead and not on balance as you're gripping on to the handlebars. And then you're going to have to move your feet at the same time that you're holding on with your hands, at the same time as you're paying attention to what's ahead, and at the same time trying to make sure that you don't fall off. Balance is more than just the notion of just staying in one spot, segmenting all these different components. It's actually having to bring in all of these different pieces, and realistically, all you're doing is living unbalanced on purpose with intention. So be intentional about the way that you bring in these different components. And even with all of that, what I had to realize is because with all this transition that I'm going through, I don't want nobody to see me fall. I don't want nobody to see me fail. I don't want nobody to talk about me. I don't want anybody to judge me, you know? Were you ready to get on that bike yet? Were you tall enough for your legs long enough to extend and reach the pedal bars? I don't want to make a fool of myself. I don't want to become the laughing stock. And as grown as I am, ladies and gentlemen, and I trust and believe I'm an adult. But nobody wants to be, you know what I'm saying, the story that's passing around on Facebook or Instagram and Twitter as, you know, look at that person. The Inspirationalist, ladies and gentlemen, went out there and tried to make a business out of speaking to people, and she fell flat on her face. I knew she should have kept her job. Look at the Inspirationalists out there, you guys. The woman who, because you have to understand, my story has always been church girl. Grew up in church, knowing the principles of what it was like, you know, that for, you know, in the scriptures. And then as well, hearing people constantly embed that into my brain about what God expects and what they expect. And I was always placed on this pedestal. And so when I fail each and every time, because remember, my story is I'm divorced twice with 2 kids, 1 from each marriage. It's not a story I signed up for, but it's mine. And what do you do with that? When you believe in all that you've done, like, listen, I still believe God loves me. I still believe he trusts me. And I believe that he is giving me wisdom and giving me, you know, instruction on how to live this life. But it did not turn out the way that I imagined that it would. And now not only other people are distrusting whether or not you're capable of making decisions, but you begin to distrust yourself. Should I make a decision anymore? What should I say? Can I trust my own decisions? Like, should I, you know, I think I'm hearing this thing leading me, something on the inside is propelling me and compelling me to go and pursue this business, but should I do it? Because you remember, Aquila, the last time you thought you heard from God, you end up divorced. And I began to question myself, and I began to be insecure and began to wonder whether or not people would see value in my voice. And so I shied away from giving advice. I shied away from telling myself what to do. And I began to entrust everybody else with my decisions. And I would say, hey, if you don't approve of it, then I won't do it. Because I want you to accept me and accept my story. I didn't want to look like a fool to you. Because you think so great of me that I'm so busy trying to protect and nurture my name in the presence of you that I forgot what it looked like to be me in the presence of me. And so now I learned today that I've spent so much time trying to preserve my name, preserve who you think that I am, that ultimately I'm not really giving you a fair shot of really knowing me. I'm not giving you the chance to reject or accept who the me that I know me to be really is. Hi, my name is Aquila, and I do love Jesus. I do live out loud. I am proud of who I am and who I've become. I'm proud of my story, but guess what? I'm not perfect. And although we all say that, and it seems like a common cliche right now, I'm perfect